the Xfinity race. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I think I pretty much said in some tweets what I thought about it, and that it was horrible. And I can only speak to what I am as a car. I can speak to what I am as a fan. I can speak to what I am as a car owner, and I can tell you, I'm not impressed. Austin Hill, Sam Mayer, Sammy Smith, all drove like assholes, and it's my job to be subjective as I can be on this show. And I said, at the time, good thing I'm not in the booth. I'd be fired for calling these guys out. And let me be clear on that. I think Parker Kligerman did a good job to be as fair as he could, but yet as truthful as he could. Even after Sammy Smith did his interview, he was like, I don't agree with that. And so that's really well done by Parker to hold these guys accountable, because I believe in my heart of hearts there's only a few things that you can do to really change this. And it's sad to say, I think public shaming is maybe some of it, like not saying, hey, that's not impressive to me. I own some cars in the Cup Series, and if you ever think I'm going to look at you as, that just because you wiped the guy out and won, no. That doesn't impress me at all. So it just shows me immaturity. There's been multiple opportunities for these guys to get to the finish in a somewhat respectful way. We're not expecting these guys not to make contact. We're not expecting them to not try to get the guy out of the groove. But coming from 2 or 3 car lengths back to wreck someone is just the most unimpressive thing I've seen. And beyond that, and the reason I've got to call these 3 guys out, and there was many other, and I just don't have time to break it all down, but Austin Hill managed to wreck someone that was 4 car lengths in front of him. Like, I'm sorry, but giving the excuse that, well, I just got in too deep and I wheel hopped, there's no way you misjudge the corner that far to wreck a car that far in front of you. You got into back of someone, and then you kept shoving. That's the problem I had with what Austin Hill did through the race. Now, he won the race. Congratulations to him. Again, not impressed. He didn't do anything wrong at the end of the race. Let's be clear on that. He won it fair and square. He didn't knock anyone out of the way really to do it. He deserves to win the race on that. But there were moves in the race that were just so unimpressive to me. And one of them, it took his teammate out, was Jesse Love. He was an innocent bystander to Austin Hill shoving in the back of somebody and just not letting off. Same thing for Sam Mayer. He got on the back of Christian Eckes and just wouldn't get off of him. Like, if you're on someone's bumper, it's not, and if you choose to not let off, you are fine. You're saying, I'm good with you wrecking, so I don't lose one position here. And that is just total lack of respect. And I'm tired of hearing these guys say that, oh, well, they would have done it to me. Like, it doesn't fly anymore. Taylor Gray at the end of the race, I just don't see anything he did wrong. That the 8 shoved him out of the groove, and he shoved the 8 out of the groove. Again, he didn't drive in, knock him. Like, he did the same thing he got done to him. And I think both of the moves were fair. What Sammy Smith did originally to Taylor Gray, I deem that okay. Do I love it that he shoved him? Like, he just got him and shoved him. It's essentially kind of what I was trying to do with Chase Elliott back in 2017. Only back then, I did it way too hard. Yeah, I spun him out there, right? I was trying to just shove him up the racetrack so I can get under him, and misjudged it. And so that's on me, but I have to try to do my job here and call these guys out for just driving like idiots. And these 3 just topped the list for me on Saturday. And so I hated to see it. Taylor Gray really deserved to win the race. He didn't. I think he's considering the last couple years at that racetrack, he's probably handled it as good as he possibly could. But I also, I hear some people talking about what do you do about it, and it's like, if you can't let us police it on the racetrack, because when I tried to do it with Ross a few years ago, I got penalized because of what I said on the show, saying, yeah, of course I took him up to the fence. Look what he's done to me over the last few years. What if you're going to say it's self-policing, you got to let them self-police it. Or in this instance, I truly believe NASCAR needs to step in, and not on the ticky-tack stuff. I'm saying use your eyes and your brains, and anybody could call what we saw. There were 3 incidents in particular. The 21 when he ended up wrecking the guys way up in front of him. The one where Sam Mayer just flat out would not get off the back of the Eckes one. And then at the end of the race. Those are 3 easy penalties that are not even debatable, right? We're not going to get into ticky-tack stuff, but my opinion, Bozi, is that if you penalize once, it at least gives these guys a little bit of a pause to say, if I send that guy to the back, if I'm Sam Mayer and I see that Christian Eckes is about to spin, I know I'm about to have to go back there with him. And more likely, you face the repercussions then. So
we saw it in the truck races last year. There was a couple of truck races where I think they held trucks for doing egregious stuff. So I think that's a good example of it.
And nobody wants them to have to get into these balls and strikes calls, but these are not balls and strikes. These are pitches to the head. And that's when you get ejected, right? These are not balls and strikes. This is egregious going after the batter type of scenarios.
It's flagrant stuff. And that's the thing is the Xfinity Series is one of my favorite racing series to watch just because the cars are so cool. The racing is so good. Like I have kind of, a bucket list of stuff, and that's like an Xfinity car is still something I have on my list that I want to work on if I have an opportunity because it looks so cool and so fun. So for me, like Saturday, I'll typically stay after a race, talk to engineers, mechanics, just to figure out like what they did, why stuff's interesting. But I just left because I was like, all the good cars, all the stuff, all the people that executed, they got wrecked in the last lap.
Yeah.
And that's what's so disappointing. And for me, like I look at it sometimes not just from that perspective, but just dollars and cents. Like an Xfinity body costs $10,000. And they treat it like a shopping bag, basically. And then, people are talking about costs and expenses, and we need to reduce crew members and all these other things. I was like, no, it's like, teach these guys some lessons. If they're not wrecking $10,000 bodies every weekend, you'll have a lot more money to pay mechanics and engineers and won't have to do all these roster games and all this other stuff. Like, it's just extremely disappointing to see such a cool platform misused in such a way and to see people knocked out for no reason.
I mean, you guys race in IMSA. What if someone cleans someone out in the final lap, like cleans them out? Is there?
I mean, there's penalties for everything. So IMSA is kind of, it's just interesting because IMSA is kind of loosened up their stance. Just, obviously IMSA is part of NASCAR, and I think some of that's flowing our way. So previously, a lot of stuff got called. Now, less and less stuff is getting called. And that's our sister car, the number 12 Lexus, the last race at Sebring. Jack Hawksworth, he was leading. It was like 2 laps to go. And one of the Mercedes just came and just punted him in the rear. And we're like, this has had to, because he punted him so far that he went off across a curb and then had to come back. And no, they were like, no, this is just racing incident. So they're trying to loosen stuff up. But most cases, if you do have an avoidable contact penalty, you'll either get a warning if it's a first one, or if it's repeatable, you'll get a drive-through or something to that regard, which will usually kill your race. So I think stuff like that, to an extent, if you could see it with your naked eye that something's very, egregious, hold them for a lap or make them do a drive-through or something to that effect so they learn their lesson, because they're obviously not going to learn anything from financial penalties or any of this other stuff, because they'll just, they'll keep throwing money at it and it doesn't teach them anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what's so hard about making the call, because even in the Cars Tour race, they have it, right? You spin someone out and it looks like you could have not done that, they'll put you to the back. And that is the one thing that will keep you from just cleaning someone out, because you're like, there's no reward to doing it, right? Where I think what happens is the higher you get up in the NASCAR series, the looser the rules become. And so it's very interesting that it works that way. But even in our local short tracks, they implement the black flag for reasons, and we have that flag for a reason. So it's my opinion, we need to use it in egregious situations. And there's not many tracks where you're going to have to officiate this, right? I'm not going to say it's a Martinsville only thing, but it's really the short tracks.
Bristol maybe and stuff like that. Yeah.
There's just some tracks where it's there, but I think that it just takes one or two calls and it's going to just calm all this down quite a bit. We saw it in the Clash, like I've said for many years, when the LA Clash was getting out of hand. I was like, just call one person for rough driving and it will calm the field down. And so I had some dialogue with Elton. Hopefully he agreed that, Saturday was definitely too far, and hopefully they do something about it in the future, because we want to see, guys, be taught the right way to race.
So I'll use Sam as an example, but over the summer, he had said that he was pissed off that he wasn't in the running for more cup rides.
Which is understandable from a results perspective.
But you're saying that
because
no matter how many times you win, if you drive like this, it resets.
It does not impress us. I can only speak for 23-11, but it doesn't impress me for absolute certain. And so it just shows me the level of immaturity and says that kid's got a long way to go. Now, which sucks, because I've also given Sam his flowers on races that he's won. And it was like, I think Sam Mayer has gone through one of the biggest transitions of racecraft. Now, this was a bad example of it, but over the last 3 years, I think he went from someone I was like, he'll never make it. Like, he's just not good enough, to, wow, maybe he is. And maybe he's hitting this. He's starting to win road courses. He's competing on the intermediates. Like, he really has taken a step in the last few years that has been impressive. But it's moments like this where it's like, let's reset this. Now he's got to start all over again. So it's unfortunate, but they got a lot of talent. What we saw this weekend was just immaturity.
Things have to get cleaned up. And I think that putting the hammer down on a few people, like you said, will do that very quickly. Like anything else, talking to them, like
that's nothing.
You're going to go talk to somebody and he'll be like, yeah, sure. And then walk off 5 minutes later and still do the same thing.
Talking does nothing.
Yeah. But if you make them sit out a lap, or like I tweeted this, and I know it's a little extreme, but my thought is, if somebody does something really bad, egregious at the end of the race, make them start the next race from pit lane. Yeah. And I assure you that it's not going to happen from anybody again if you're starting a lap down, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
and it needs to, whatever the penalties are, it needs to happen like then, right? I don't like that we're taking days to, what's NASCAR going to do? Like, there should be someone in the tower with the power to say, nope, that ain't going to work, to the back, or whatever it is. Sit on pit lane for a lap. You got to empower the person that's running race control to use their eyes and brain to make shots to the head calls.
That's the one thing I like about IMSA officiating, because as soon as something is potentially an issue, like seconds later, you'll hear this incident is under review. Maybe 30 seconds to a minute later, they'll call it. They'll say, okay, it's clear, or we're giving this person a penalty. They give them about a minute to argue their case over IM, and then you got to go do your drive-through or whatever else. And I like that process because it's transparent, it's consistent, and I know that when I've made mistakes that have caused a penalty, I knew exactly what to expect, because, all right, I messed up, I let this tire go. I know my guy's going to have to do a drive-through now because that's the case. But it's not like, oh, well, maybe if they feel this way or that way. No, like this gets announced. It's available to everybody, and you can hear it, you can see it, and that's it. And fans have access to, see and listen to all of that. And I think consistency, I know some things are subjective, but consistency, even if you have subjective calls occasionally, will help fans to accept it more, and will teach these guys, hey, this is not acceptable.